Welcome to the Mother Flutter podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Sawakis, and I want to introduce you today to this podcast, to me, and talk a little bit about the plan for this season as well as this episode. So I am a writer, artist, and self-proclaimed witch. And before you turn this off, I use the word witch on purpose and to bring awareness to the genocide of women who were healers, outcasts, or just generally flying some freak flag that somebody didn't like. And I use that word because I connect to spirituality primarily through nature, which is what quote-unquote witches do. And we'll be talking about science in this podcast and data, talking to professors, as well as tarot readers and crazy woo-woo people like myself. I think it's important to consider both sides and really look at the messy middle between science and magic, because what is now science used to be magic. And what is now magic may one day be science. Anyways, I created the Mother Flutter podcast to talk about transforming trauma into art and strength. I guess the genre would be kind of like traumedy. So, we're going to laugh. We're going to talk about the gift of being able to laugh at everything. And I've experienced a significant amount of adversity, in my life, and I think we all have to some extent. But I do have kind of a unique background compared to, a lot of people I've met. And obviously, no one's situation is worse than anyone else's. But I have been lucky enough to have had access to a lot of therapy and very wise people over the years. And I just happen to know a lot of cool, smart, funny, interesting people. And I've had the pleasure of learning from these people. And it feels like if I don't share these conversations and this wisdom that's been passed down to me through lots of hard work and, frankly, thousands of dollars, that I am just doing the world a disservice. So allow me to distill what I've learned in the last 10 years or so as I have, been on this healing journey and share it with you. And, we're going to talk to authors, sex therapists, comedians, professors, pole dancers, and really explore what it means to heal and access our creativity and combine the spiritual and metaphysical with science. So today, I am actually taking a question from a Mother Flutter listener named Angel in Seattle, Washington. And before we get into that, she asks me about the top types of therapies, the most beneficial therapies I've tried so far. So I did want to touch a little bit about Mother Flutter and what that means. So if you know me, you know that I am obsessed with butterflies, and butterflies represent transformation, right? And they go through this gooey, gross, painful chrysalis process and come out these beautiful, light, magical beings. And I think that is what the pain in our life can do. I do think the word trauma is a little bit overused, but the challenges in our life is literally, the things that make us strong and the things that can push us to make art. Not to say that you have to be in pain to be an artist. I don't believe you have to suffer to be creative at all. But I do think that you can alchemize pain and turn it into art, which is, definitely going to be a theme as we move through this season. But I also think that, sometimes it's just a fun play on words, right? Like sometimes the things that make you want to go motherfucker are the things that really transform us for the better. You know, you get better or you get bitter. But today we are going to take a question from a listener, and I hope you enjoy. Now, it's very easy for me. It's EMDR, Psychedelic Assisted Therapy, and Equine Therapy. I do believe in talk therapy, but I did talk therapy for many years without much, without a lot of results, I guess you would say. And EMDR is just like everything talk therapy should be, because you still get the talk therapy. So EMDR, if you don't know, it stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And it's basically like this waking dream state, which is it's like, I believe they call it bilateral stimulation. For me, it's been, eye movement back and forth, which mimics the REM dream state. And you essentially go back in and reprocess traumatic memories so that they affect you less severely. I was diagnosed with PTSD in 2020, and I didn't even know I had it, but in retrospect, I'm like, oh my God, duh, because I would just like get triggered by strangers and freak out, and my body would just go into this like panic over, nothing. And in retrospect, I was always able to see like, what the fuck? Like, like that was nothing. Like, why did I react like that? But in the moment, it was totally like a fight or flight. And that's what happens, with trauma and PTSD for some people. And EMDR literally, like, the first time I did it, and I did it virtually. I've actually only done it virtually. And I've had amazing results, but I like, I would have these triggers, certain men would trigger me, and strangers. And it like went away almost overnight, where like I stopped having those reactions, which was insane to me because I thought it was just, me and something I had to live with. And so it was just incredibly freeing to realize like, oh no, this is, your body is responding to past traumas, and you're not actually, a total asshole. This is just your body trying to protect you. And EMDR is fucking awesome. It's essentially all the benefits of talk therapy, except you actually like move shit in your body so that you're not just going over the same painful memories over and over and over again and just like talking yourself into oblivion with a therapist who may or may not be that great. Like, you're actually moving shit around in your subconscious and shifting, reprocessing memories in a way that frees you from their hold on you and their power. It's awesome, and I highly recommend it to anybody. And the way that I found my therapist who does EMDR is EMDRIA.org. It's a great website. It's a nonprofit actually based in Austin, Texas. And you can just find a therapist and look by your insurance and your state. And if you do it virtually, which is what I do, you can search your whole state, which I recommend because I know that there's like a shortage issue with therapists right now. Can't say I blame them, but it opens you up to, more rural areas where you might have a better chance of finding somebody. If you're in like a big metro area where there's, 9 million people trying to see 300 therapists or whatever. So yeah, EMDR, amazing. I say this next one with hesitation, but I'm going to say it because it's just becoming, big business now, but psychedelic assisted therapy. I say this with the caveat of, do not try this at home. Do not DIY this. I've been very lucky to have been able to do this alongside a therapist and psychiatrist and professionals. But I've been using a macro dose of psilocybin a couple of times a year. And it has just really changed me and changed my life and helped me see the world in a new and refreshing way. And I think that one way that I have heard somebody describe psychedelics is like, right, the way, that's my cat, the way that our thought patterns, we create these thought patterns and habits in our brain, and even if they're not true and they're not right and they're self-sabotaging, it's like skis on a mountain, and you just keep going down the same tracks and making this groove deeper and deeper and more embedded into your psyche over and over and over again. And psychedelics are like a fresh snowfall, and you kind of get a chance to make some new tracks and new connections and watch your brain, for lack of a better word, and decide what connections and what things you're going to hold up there and take in. I think it's also just got me closer to spirituality or God or higher power, the universe, whatever you want to call it. And just, it's made me feel more empathetic towards others, towards myself, kinder to others, towards myself, more excited and hopeful about life, and just able to see the beauty and able to see the depth of life a little bit more than just, the physical world and, kind of the surface level bullshit, because there's just so much more going on here energetically, spiritually, just so much more happening than what we can see and what we have, quote unquote data for. So I really hope that this becomes more accessible to people. I also say I know for a fact that this is not going to be something for everybody. We all have different brain chemistry, history, etc. So I can't, again, I don't want to say that this is for everybody, but it's really helped me. And if you're curious about it, I would encourage you to, look into ways that you can access it safely and with professionals, or, maybe doing, participating in some studies where they are testing these drugs. And maybe even putting your name on a list, because a lot of them are about to break into becoming legal. And I think that that's great, because I know that they've helped me, and I know that they've helped a lot of others with treatment-resistant PTSD, anorexia, depression, anxiety, and all sorts of things. And I think it's a good thing that should also be treated with respect and caution. And the last one, I think, is equine therapy, and is essentially working with horses. And it sounds super weird, and it still, makes me kind of giggle when I think about it, when I tell people about it, but it is really magical. And it's it's embodied. It's taught me how to be present. Horses kind of force you to be present, and they also, you can't lie to a horse. Like, it's not gonna cooperate, it's gonna ignore you. And in order to connect with them, you have to be fully present and you have to be fully authentic. And that's something that I have struggled with a lot, and they have really taught me that in a way that has kind of blown my mind. And also it's helped me feel more connected. You know, I've always felt like a misfit. I have always felt like an outsider. I've always felt just kind of different. And I realize that that's not uncommon to feel that way. But equine therapy has helped me feel more connected just to like the greater whole and to nature. And, you know, like, we're part of nature. Humans are part of nature. Plants, animals, just like loving each other and taking care of each other, and just that connectedness. And that's been really important through my mental health and well-being. And I've also been very lucky that I've met, you know, some great people through equine therapy who have become, you know, true friends. And now we're working on a book together. Actually, I'm ghostwriting a book for this organization that I've been working with, and it's just been a wonderful, you know, community of people. And I think that it's also helped me learn how to identify and feel my emotions, which is just crazy. I am 33, and I feel like I've just learned how to identify and feel my emotions in the last few years. And I was so shut off from them from so long that when a big emotion came up, even if it was like big joy or, you know, falling in love or, you know, despair or depression or, you know, whatever, like, I would just shut it off because I was so scared that it was just going to like overwhelm me and, you know, like take me away like a hot air balloon or something. And equine therapy helped me learn to kind of just ride things out and ride my feelings out and just accept the ups and downs. And it just helped things kind of like, you know, more steady hills as opposed to like mountains and valleys, I guess, which is a good thing. So all that to say, thank you for listening. Thank you for being curious. Thank you for being open to transforming the shit that makes you want to go motherfucker into something better. And yeah, I think I have talked long enough by myself to you all. Please submit your questions if you have them. Again, you can just send me a DM on Instagram. I'm at Sarah Sawakis, and I would love to hear from you. And stay tuned. You know, I've got some actually an equine therapist that I'm going to be interviewing coming up soon, and as well as publishing some more solo episodes. So that's all, guys. Have a lovely day or evening or whatever you are up to, and I will talk to you next time. All right, take care.